Peace Squad, welcome back to our data science bootcamp. You're about to get your SQL lesson for today. And it's brought to you by Lemon Squeeze Marketing's new funding management app. They're modeling this after Zandra Solomon, who is pursuing a art residency and needs to raise between 9,000 and 15,000 in funding. All right, guys. So on our last meeting, we went through the query to create the total funding goal. All right. If you guys missed that, be sure to check out our last video where we went over how to create that query. All right. Today, or in this lesson, we're going to go over we're going to start to go over how we would actually calculate the potential funding identified. All right. Now, anytime I'm coding, I like to first draw a picture to help me understand exactly what I am the insight that I'm trying to get at. So in our case, right? So far, Lemon Squeeze Marketing has identified 5 different funding opportunities to go in its database. That's just related to veterans, right? And when we're trying to basically, the insight that we're getting at right now, if we go back to our dashboard for a second, is the potential funding identified. So for our participants, we want to basically show the dollar amount of all the funding that we've identified that they qualify for, essentially, right? So of all the funding opportunities that we have identified in our database, so these are as of now, assume that these are all the different funding opportunities in our database. We essentially want to quantify dollar amount wise how many of this potential money can go towards our participant. How much of this do they qualify for? So what are the funds that they qualify for, and then summing up the amount that they will contribute. All right. So this is essentially getting at some reports that we need to build anytime we enter a new fund into our database. I'm sure there's a more optimized way to do this, but as of now, this is what I'm thinking. So essentially, we want to create a query for each one of our funds that would pull the participants that qualify for the fund, right? So what I'm thinking of is creating a query for each one of our funds and then creating another query that would just basically pull out each fund that the participant fell on. So as far as just creating a query that would pull the participants that qualify for each one of the funds, let's just go through this for a second. So the first thing that I did was just create a visualization. So if we create a visualization, right, here are the 5 funds that are in our database. So we have our A Vets National Scholarship. We have our VFW Sports Clips Help a Hero Scholarship. We have our Pat Tillman Foundation Scholarship. We have our Wells Fargo Veteran Scholarship, and we have our Army Women's Foundation Legacy Scholarship. All right. So what we're trying to do is determine which of these funding opportunities our participant Zandra qualifies for. And then we want to sum the amount that they will give. That's going to be the potential funding that we've identified. All right. So let's just go into the eligibility requirements for each one of the funds. All right. So for fund number 1 that we've identified, what are the qualifications? Now, if we go into the spreadsheet for a second, basically this one says must be a veteran and must be enrolled full-time at an accredited institution. All right. So if we go back to our wireframe, essentially, this is going to be from our military status. So they must be a veteran. So they must have a military status of veteran, and they must be enrolled at an accredited university. So basically, to qualify for this scholarship, you must be enrolled or sorry, you must be a military veteran and you must be enrolled. You can be enrolled in undergrad or postgrad, but you must be enrolled. All right. So if we were to create a query that would pull participants that qualify for this particular scholarship, what would that look like? All right. So let's go over to our SQL. And this is the query that we've come up with so far. So this has two subqueries. This is basically creating a subquery for each one of the rules that a participant must qualify for. All right. So for example, the first rule was that the participant must be of veteran status. All right. So we have a funding eligibility category class for military, and that's two. So if we scroll back up to our table for a second, I believe this, no, because that, okay, cool. So this is our funding eligibility category class table. And when we're about to create a rule that pertains to the military enrollment status, we know that we're referring to category number two. So that's why we have a category number two. All right. And they must be a veteran. So we're looking for participants so we're actually looking for participants on our participant classification table, which is here. So we're actually looking to pull participants on this table that have that reach that that have a certain that reach certain qualifications. So in our case, we want a FECCID 2 of veteran, right? So a military status of veteran. So boom, Zandra checks off the box on that one. And then also for enrollment. So we know that category number 10 pertains to our academic enrollment. If we scroll up, we know that category 10 pertains to academic enrollment. All right. And so in this case, you can be enrolled in undergrad or a grad school. You just need to be enrolled. All right. So if we go to Zandra's, if we look at her category 10, she has a value of enrolled dash undergrad. All right. So those are the only two qualifications required for that particular scholarship. So what we did was have these two subqueries join. So we're going to join our query that checks to see if you have a military status to our query that checks to see if you have a enrolled status for your enrollment status. All right. So we're joining those two and on our participant ID, right? And then here in our final query up top, what we did was just pull the participant's ID. And then for the first category, that category where we're talking about the military status, we call this the military status code, which is 2. And then we have the military status, which is veteran, that value. And then the next one we have is our enrollment status code, which is 10. And then so in her case, her enrollment status is undergrad, enrolled undergrad, right? Now, now this is just pulling so far the participants who qualify for this particular fund. What we're really supposed to be doing is if a participant qualifies for a fund, then we are supposed to be adding up that fund. So I guess what we could do from here is we could make this a subquery. And then what we could do is to basically, where is our fund table? join this to our fund table. And I'm trying to think about how we would be able to join this to our fund table. So we would need for the fund ID to be on a table for us to join to our fund. So let me think through that. So, anyways, ultimately, what we really want is for the funds that the participant qualifies for. So these are the different classifications, and it should be pretty easy because we're actually like pulling from it's because we haven't done the application yet. Okay. Anyways, what we will really want to do is that for this particular fund, well, actually, we would have the fund name, so that's fine. So, what we would really want to do is these are the participants, right? But what we really want to say that is if a participant ends up on this query, we just want to like return the amount that this fund is going to give. So if we look at go back to our fund ID, this is fund ID number 1. And if we look at the amount, this is 1,000. So what we will really want to do is if this participant falls on this query to sum up the funding award amount, which in our case would be 1,000. So we're not quite done with the query yet. This is just to get us started as far as like creating a query that will return participants that are eligible for a particular fund. And this would be a report that we create for pulling participants that are all eligible for the AVET's military status. All right. So that's how we would just pull participants that are eligible. In a future video, what I'm going to do is actually create a query. Finish this off. We want to create a query that would actually go through and for a particular participant, find all of the different funds that that participant is eligible for, and then sum up the award amount for that fund, so that we can actually communicate how much potential funding we have identified for participant. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial. Peace. Oh, before I go, if you guys like this tutorial and you guys want more videos like this, all you guys have to do is enroll in our data science bootcamp. It is only $2.99 per month for our first 45 students. All right. If you guys want to enroll, all you got to do is check out the information in the description. And make sure you guys enroll in our data science bootcamp, where we are building real world apps for real world clients. And in this particular course, we're building the funding management app, and it is modeled after Zandra Solomon, who is a real artist and veteran who is completing a real art residency, who needs to raise real funding money for her efforts. All right. If you guys want to get involved and donate to Zandra, the information will also be linked in the description. All right. Peace.